Stan, my man, thank you for your comment. Sorry it took so long to get back to you. For everybody else, Stan left me a fantastic comment that I think so many of you are going to relate to because I have a feeling this is exactly what a lot of people are thinking. So I'm going to break down this comment for you. Let me read it to you and you see if you don't relate to a lot of what Stan said. At living in Minnesota, I just think it's so depressing that the reaction to no one can buy a house considering current wages is, I hope wages come up rather than home prices come down. I get where you're coming from, but still home ownership is a huge part of generational wealth, and having the wages for the middle class rise to meet the overvalued houses rather than house prices fall to meet wages just means that home ownership will become less and less attainable for more and more Americans. I'm a single college graduate, about to turn 30. I'm working in the software industry, and even a house in the $300 to $350 range feels like a pipe dream on a single salary, particularly considering how many of the sub $350 houses are getting snapped up by people, turned into rental properties, or to only turn around and list again with a $60,000 price increase 3 weeks later. And if that's the case for me, I can't imagine what it's like for folks who make under the median income, let alone under 50, 60,000. It's like we're telling a massive chunk of the people that they'll never be homeowners and that only well-off people can afford to earn anything for themselves with housing payments. Just another way to divide the haves and have-nots, and it's really depressing. Stan, seriously, I appreciate your comment so much because I think you're speaking for a lot more people than just yourself, because I've heard this sort of sentiment a million times. So I'm gonna go ahead and break apart this into a few different things, and I wanna hopefully challenge your thinking and encourage you so that you can, at some point, become a homeowner. So let's start right off the top here. Stan says, I think it's depressing that the reaction to no one can buy a house considering current wages is, I hope wages come up rather than prices come down. All right, first of all, what you tell yourself is going to be the mantra that is your reality, right? What was it, Henry Ford that said, if you think you can or if you think you can't, you're right? Whatever, it's cheesy, I get it. But the reality is if you're telling yourself no one can buy a house because of current wages, that's going to be what you believe, but it's just not the reality. There's still a ton of people that are buying a home. Even today in 2023, we have seen a huge influx of people buying homes in the last few years. So that is going to naturally deflate some of what happens in the next few years, because that normal cycle that happens, people kind of rushed into it because they were sick of their house from COVID. So they bought. So we will see numbers go down, and we'll see number goes down because of inflation and certainly because of interest rates. But that's absolutely not the same to say that no one can buy a house because of current wages. Now, I know you're not being literal on that one, but I just want to make sure you get it through your brain of you can absolutely buy a house. That's the story that you should be telling yourself. I'm going to be buying a house very soon. I'm going to be buying a house very soon. And if you do that, you absolutely will be. Let's talk about the difference between I hope wages come up rather than I hope prices come down. Now, if you think of it like this, if wages come up, you're able to afford all of your life a whole lot more comfortably, versus if home prices go down, it means that someone's going to have lost a whole bunch of their equity, and eventually they're going to be upside down and they're going to get foreclosed on if they can't make their payments, right? On one hand, we're going to lose a bunch of equity. On the other hand, people are going to gain an income. Now, I understand there's pros and cons of both. I'm not really saying that I hope for one or the other to happen. In fact, what I try to say is you can't control either one, but you can definitely influence your wage going up. I would just prefer that people would be able to afford their home, they'll be able to afford their eggs and gas and all the other things a whole lot more comfortably if wages come up. But let's not forget that home prices always go up anyways, an average, I think it's like 4% a year. Last year, homes went up in the Twin Cities 4.52%. So we only went a tiny bit over the average benchmark for what the greater economy always does historically anyways. That number has actually kind of fixed itself in a lot of ways. Since that slowed down, now I'd like to see wages rise to meet where it's been since those values have gone up in the last few years because of all that influx of buyers. And so if we see wages come up, that'll meet to where home values went. And then if we don't keep going up like crazy, that will help to close that gap. Second paragraph here, you said, I'm a single college graduate about to turn 30 in the software industry, and 3 to 350 feels like a pipe dream on a single salary. Now, let me break this apart for you if I can. First of all, I appreciate the context because then I can have somewhat of an idea of who I'm talking to, even though we've never met. If you are a younger single kid just out of college and you have a single income, the number one tip that I would tell you is to go get a renter, find a buddy, somebody you know from college, a friend or whoever, get somebody to live with you. And it's called house hacking, they call it. I don't care if you're renting or if you own, this can always be a great option, especially for younger people. I mean, I can't do this now. I got 4 kids and a wife and a dog, and it's never gonna work, right? But for a younger person, this is a huge opportunity. I don't feel like very many people are talking about is that, all right, you're paying $1,500 a month in your rent. You go get somebody else to pay $750, you guys split it or whatever, and then all of a sudden you've got $750 a month in additional income effectively. That's lowering your cost of living, and then you're able to pay off some student loans, you're able to save up some money for your down payments, you're able to get ahead financially exponentially faster. So while you're telling me you've got a single income, I'm saying you've actually got a huge opportunity to kind of actually have a side income without working anymore. A ton of people are going to tell me, I don't want a rental, I don't want roommates, I don't want to have to deal with all that. I get it, but I would also tell you, you may need to just suck it up for a couple of years. I mean, 2, 3, 4 years. What is it? If you're bringing in $500 a month, that's $6,000 a year. You do that for 2 years, there's 12 grand just in 2 years, just from having a tenant renting with you. That's gonna go a really long way towards financing your purchase of your next home. As far as homes in the 3 to 350 range, I'm gonna tell you if you're ready to buy that your first house and you're a single person, I'm gonna usually tell you to steer towards a townhome. They're less expensive. Yes, I understand you have your HOA, but that's gonna offset a lot of the risk and the cost of just regular home ownership things as you go. Lower risk, lower cost, a great first step. So I would tell anybody buying their first house, especially younger folks who aren't making a ton of money yet, I would say get something that's just incredibly modest. Like, I would encourage you to buy something you hate because it's so modest and your payments are going to be so low. This might mean that you're looking a little bit further out. This might mean you're not in your ideal area. You don't have kids, it sounds like. And so you don't have to be in some super nice school district. I would say compromise as much as you can, because there's something so incredibly satisfying about buying a house. Let's say you buy it $300,000, which is definitely doable. You buy it $300,000, you keep that home for 2 or 3 years. As I said, it appreciates about 4% per year. So what is that? $12,000 for $12,000 a year times, 3 years. You're gonna have a ton of money in equity. So then what do? You either keep that home and rent it out fully, then you have a huge income. Maybe at that time, what's it gonna be worth? $2,000 a month. Then you have $24,000 a year in rental income, and you've got $36,000 from that equity that you've built that you can then use towards something else, right? If you wanna pull some of that equity out, you can sell the property if you want to, or you can keep the rental income. But just start is the hugest thing. You don't wanna jump the gun. I don't want you to buy a house just because you're desperate to. But when the time's right, get something and get it really modest just so that you can start building some equity. Once you do that, in only 3, 4, 5 years down the road, you're gonna have a ton of options later. Okay, last thing, and I think this might be most important. In the last paragraph you said, I can't imagine what it's like for folks making under the median income, let alone those making $50,000 to $60,000. It's like we're telling master chunk people that they can never buy a house. Okay. This isn't necessarily, aimed directly at you, Sam, because we haven't met. I don't know your situation. But I would say there's a huge, huge opportunity for people currently who aren't satisfied with their job, who aren't making a lot of money, who are below that median income like you're talking about. I would tell you, number one thing you can do is go upgrade your job. Now, that's gonna be a couple things. It's gonna be at your current job. If you like the company, you like where you're at, you should be taking your job description and you should be busting your butt and doing just a little bit more, taking on more projects, accomplishing more things, going above and beyond, whatever the scope of what's expected of you. You can do just a little bit more. So then in maybe a year after you've done this, you can go to your boss and you can say, hey, number one, the cost of everything is through the roof. But number two, and most importantly for you, Mr. Boss, is you've asked me to do this much, but I've accomplished all of this. And here's all my list of things that I've done over and above and beyond. So I need you to consider giving me a raise, okay? This is only gonna come after you've been there for a year or two. You've really proven yourself. You show up on time or early, you don't miss a day, you're very reliable, and you're exceeding their expectations. They're going to be much, much more inclined to give you a raise. If they say no, no problem. All right, you go back to work and you keep doing the exact same things. You keep beating, exceeding their expectations, and you go search for other jobs. So I just looked on Indeed a couple days ago. There is a gazillion jobs that are currently available right now in the Twin Cities. A huge percentage of those don't require any experience. They don't require a specific degree or certification. A ton of them come with a sign-on bonus, and they're all on job to train. You can go looking on Indeed, you can find a job similar to what you have or something you would like even more, maybe that thing you've always been dreaming about. I'm not gonna tell you to go to college necessarily. I'm not gonna tell you to spend a lot on getting the job, but just get your foot into a door. You don't need a lot of training. They'll pay you ridiculously well. Like most of them are 20 to 30 bucks an hour plus. So then you can go there, you can probably get a little sign-on bonus. You can put that in savings. You can pay down some debt, whatever you gotta do. But then you're gonna be able to go to that new boss and you're gonna be able to say, hey, here's the situation of my current employer. I work there. This is what's expected of me. Here's my exact job description. Here's specifically all the things that I've done. to exceed that boss's expectation, they're not willing to pay me a fair market rate. And so I'm looking for a new job because I expect to exceed your expectations as well and be paid appropriately. So is that something you're interested in new prospective boss? You come to me and you say that if I'm hiring, I'm gonna be like, dang man, this guy's got it going on. He's a hard worker. He knows what's up. He understands how the economy works and how the value of an employee works, right? I'm gonna be like, yeah man, you're hired right there. I don't care if you don't know what you're doing. I'll teach you what to do. Improve your job situation. Your income will go up. I don't care what the economy's doing. I don't care what the average wages are doing. I don't care what minimum wage is, because why would you possibly be working for that in a world where we have so much opportunity right now? Go upgrade your job, get better at what you're doing, exceed your boss's expectations, and you can do anything. I recall very distinctly what it was like coming out of college and wanting to buy a house, wanting to get ahead, wanting to move forward in my career, struggling financially, you got tons of debt, you just feel like the world's against you. Here's what I want to tell you. Whatever you focus on expands. Whatever you tell your brain is what you will believe. And so if you set a trajectory of, all right, I'm gonna be patient, I'm gonna give it 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, whatever your plan is, and you're gonna bust your butt for there. If you put the goal at a reasonable time frame, you will absolutely get there. If you feel entitled to, I want everything and I want it right now and I deserve to buy a house and I went to college and I was a good little boy, so I should be able to buy a house, you are never gonna succeed in the real world. That's just the reality that we work in. Do the right things, give it a long enough period of time where you can really get ahead, and you will not believe what can happen in 5 years or 10 years down the road. I've just bought my 4th house. I'm 34 and I can't believe where we're at now financially because we put in the work. We worked for, $30,000 when we were coming out of college, and now we've gotten ourselves to a really nice place. So I'm telling you, if you do that, you will get ahead. And again, I just appreciate your comment so much. If anyone else watching this, you've got something similar that's frustrating you, that's going on, that you want me to do an open letter like this for you, I'd love to see it in the comments down below. And when you're ready to talk, my name's Joe Carmack. I'm a local Twin Cities real estate agent. You can schedule a consult and find all of my information down in the description below.